Most guys make the same mistake when they're getting to know a woman. They sit across from her, full of curiosity, and they start asking, "So, what happened with your ex? What was your childhood like? When was the last time someone broke your heart?" On the surface, it feels like you're being honest, like you're just trying to connect. But here's what really happens. The moment you ask those questions, she starts editing. Not because she's lying or trying to trick you, but because that's what people do when they're protecting themselves. You're not getting the truth. You're getting the version of her past that she wants you to see. And that version, it's rarely the full story. So what if you didn't have to ask? What if you could see her past not through the words she chooses, but through the signs she doesn't even realize she's showing? Because the truth is, people don't just talk about their past, they live it. Every habit she has, every little reaction, every silence, every flicker in her eyes when you say certain words, it's all part of her story. I've seen this play out over and over. You don't have to interrogate a woman to understand her. You don't have to dig for answers she's not ready to give. You just have to observe. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to read those signs, how to understand what they really mean, and how to protect yourself from becoming another chapter in a story you never signed up for. So are you ready to stop chasing her words and start seeing the truth? Let's begin. 1. How she talks about her family. If you really want to understand how a woman forms emotional bonds, how she gives and receives love, pay close attention to how she talks about her family. You don't have to dig deep or pry into painful memories. All you need to do is notice the way she frames them, especially when she mentions her parents. When she talks about her father, is there warmth in her voice? Distance? Maybe even bitterness hidden behind a casual shrug. That tone alone can tell you more about her emotional blueprint than any dramatic story ever could. For example, she might say, "Yeah, my dad was around. We weren't super close, but whatever." That whatever? That's doing a lot of heavy lifting. It's rarely true indifference. More often, it's a quiet mask over years of disappointment. The truth is, the relationship she had with her father, or lack of it, often sets the stage for how she views men, trust, and emotional safety. If she grew up having to earn love, she may feel the need to constantly prove herself in a relationship. If love in her home was inconsistent affection one day, silence the next, she may expect the same unpredictability from you, even if you've done nothing to deserve it. On the other hand, if she speaks of her family with warmth and ease, if she lights up at the mention of holidays or childhood memories, that usually signals a more secure foundation, and it shows in how she handles conflict, communicates her needs, and calms herself down. Her family dynamic is like the operating system running quietly in the background of her emotional world. It doesn't shout, but it controls everything. So watch, listen, notice how she reacts when you bring up family, holidays, her parents. Does she lean in, or does she change the subject? Those little moments reveal exactly how she learned to love and how she'll try to love you. 2. Her views on men in general. One of the most revealing things a woman will ever show you, often without meaning to, is how she talks about men. And I don't mean how she talks about you. I mean how she talks about men as a whole. When the subject comes up, her exes, her male co-workers, even random guys on TV, does she speak with playfulness, neutrality, or do you hear bitterness hiding behind her words? Listen closely to the little comments. "Men are the worst. You can't trust guys." Or even joking lines like, "They're all the same." At first, it sounds harmless, even funny. But when that kind of joke keeps showing up over and over, with just a little too much edge, it usually means that joke came from somewhere real. And that's the key here. She didn't just read those beliefs in a book. She lived them. Somewhere along the way, someone or more than one someone taught her to see men through that lens. And while she might be flirty, affectionate, even kind with you now, those deeper beliefs don't just disappear overnight. You'll see it when she grows suspicious the moment you're quiet, when she assumes you'll leave before you even think of staying, when she pulls away before you've even gotten close enough to hurt her. These aren't just mood swings, they're memories in motion. And that doesn't mean you need to judge her, but it does mean you need to see her clearly. Because if she's still carrying the weight of every man who broke her trust, sooner or later, she'll hand that weight to you and expect you to carry it. The question is, are you prepared to? 3. Her relationship with attention. One of the easiest ways to understand a woman's emotional past is to simply watch how she handles attention, especially from men. You don't even need to say a word. Just observe. Pay attention to the little things. Does she casually drop into conversation how many guys DM her on Instagram? Does she make sure you know that she got hit on at the gym? Does she seem to light up, almost need the eyes in the room to stay on her? Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with enjoying a little attention. That's human. A confident woman can enjoy being noticed without depending on it. But here's where it gets tricky. There's a big difference between someone who likes attention and someone who needs it to feel whole. I've seen this many times. A woman who grew up feeling invisible, ignored, or undervalued often learns to measure her worth by how many people notice her, and she may not even realize she's doing it. So here's the question you need to ask yourself quietly, to yourself when you see these patterns. Is she enjoying admiration, or is she chasing validation? Because the first one, that's light, playful, harmless. But the second one can quietly wreck your peace. When someone depends on constant attention to feel enough, no amount you give her will ever feel like it's enough. So watch how she moves when the spotlight's on her. Does she stay grounded, or does she seem like she can't live without it? That small difference can tell you more about her past than any story she could ever tell you out loud. 4. How she talks about other women. If you really want to see what's going on beneath the surface, really listen to how she talks about other women. Not just how she talks to them when they're around, but how she talks about them when they're not. Does she describe her friends, her coworkers, or even strangers with kindness? Does she celebrate their successes and laugh at their quirks? Or is there always a bite to her tone, a little sarcasm, a little judgment, maybe even a hint of competition she doesn't quite hide? Here's why this matters. The way a woman talks about other women is often a mirror reflecting how she feels about herself. When I hear a woman say, "She's so fake," or "All these girls are a mess," or "I just don't get along with other women," I don't hear confidence, I hear scars. Those words usually come from past betrayals, broken friendships, or insecurities she hasn't healed yet. It's projection. A woman who constantly accuses others of being too flirty. She may have been cheated on before. A woman who rolls her eyes at another woman's success. She may feel like she's fallen behind in her own life. One of the most common masks people wear is pretending they don't care, when deep down, they're still carrying pain. So next time she starts talking about someone else, don't just listen to the gossip, listen to the pattern. If she seems at peace with herself, she'll likely be at peace with others. But if every other woman seems like a threat in her eyes, you have to wonder, what happened to make her feel like life is a battlefield? These little moments, the way she talks when no one's watching, tell you everything you need to know if you're paying attention. 5. How she handles conflict. If you really want to understand someone's story, don't watch how they act when everything's easy. Watch how they behave when things go wrong. Because conflict has a way of pulling the past to the surface whether they mean to show it or not. Pay attention to those everyday moments of friction. You forget something. Plans change last minute. You're distracted and she feels ignored. Does she go quiet and withdraw, like she's already halfway out the door? Does she lash out, blame you, try to make you feel guilty? Or does she take a breath, talk it through, and move forward calmly? None of those reactions are random. They're emotional echoes of her history. I've seen this play out countless times. A woman who was abandoned or neglected in the past will often shut down at the first sign of tension, because she learned long ago that expressing emotion only led to pain, or the opposite, she might go into attack mode, cutting and defensive. because vulnerability once got her hurt. This is where you really see what she's carrying. When a woman escalates minor problems into major battles, or completely avoids any uncomfortable conversation, that's not just about you. That's about how she learned to protect herself a long time before you showed up. The question you have to ask yourself is simple. Are you willing to step into that with her? Are you prepared to be part of her healing? Or do you risk becoming collateral damage in someone else's unresolved war? Because the way she fights isn't just about the moment. It's a reenactment of the way she survived. And once you understand that, you stop taking it personally, but you also start deciding if you want to stay. 6. How she handles silence and space. Here's one most men completely overlook: how she handles silence and space. It's easy to focus on the big moments, but real insight shows up in the quiet. Watch what happens when things slow down. You don't text her back right away. You're focused on your work. You take a little time for yourself. Does she seem calm, trusting that the connection is still there? Or does she start reaching out over and over-explaining herself, assuming you're upset or pulling away? This reaction is almost never random. Women who grew up in chaos, or who were abandoned emotionally or physically in the past, often associate silence with rejection. In their world, quiet means danger. I've seen this many times. She learned to panic in the pauses, because the people she loved taught her that love disappears when things get quiet. On the other hand, a woman who's at peace with herself knows that silence doesn't equal absence. She doesn't rush to fill the space because she trusts what's already there. So watch. Do those quiet moments feel easy for her? Or do they feel like torture? The way she handles silence says a lot, not just about how she sees you, but about how she sees herself. 7. How she receives kindness. And here's another powerful sign most guys completely miss: how she reacts when you show her real kindness. When you go out of your way to help her. When you compliment her on something deeper than her looks. When you do something thoughtful just because. What does she do? Does she smile, say thank you, and let it in? Or does she brush it off, make a joke, or even seem uncomfortable, like she doesn't quite know what to do with it? This one cuts deep, because a woman who grew up where love was inconsistent, where kindness always came with strings, or affection was used as a weapon, may not know how to trust it when it's real. I've heard women say things like, "You don't have to do that," or even, "What do you want?" when someone treats them well, not because they're ungrateful, but because it feels foreign. The way she receives care tells you everything about her trust, not just in you, but in herself. When kindness feels like a threat to her, you're seeing scars she may not even realize she's showing. And once you notice this, you can stop taking it personally and start deciding whether you're willing to be patient while she learns to accept what she deserves. 8. What makes her emotional and what doesn't. There's something deeply revealing about what makes a woman emotional, and just as revealing about what doesn't. You're not just looking for tears or dramatic reactions. You're looking for the little moments when something hits her harder than she expected, or barely touches her at all. Maybe it's a movie scene about abandonment that suddenly makes her go quiet. Maybe it's a song about betrayal that she skips every time it comes on. Or maybe it's the opposite: she seems completely unfazed by things that would shake most people. None of this is random. These reactions are emotional footprints. They trace back to scars she still carries or numbness she had to develop just to survive. Sometimes what stirs her up isn't even about relationships. It might be as small as being left out of a group text or hearing someone raise their voice in frustration. And when her response feels out of proportion, either too intense or completely detached, pay attention. People don't overreact without history. That emotional intensity, that's her saying, "This has happened before. It hurt then, and maybe it still does." And on the flip side, if she seems cold when you open up about your own pain, if she brushes off someone else's struggle, that can be its own kind of red flag. Detachment isn't always strength. Sometimes it's armor she learned to wear way too young. And here's the thing: you'll never discover these truths by asking her. What makes you emotional? She might not even know herself. You find it by watching, by noticing what she can't hide. Because what moves her and what doesn't is like an emotional highlighter, tracing back to a version of her you haven't met yet. And when you see that, you start to understand the difference between someone who has faced their past and someone who's still running from it. 9. Her relationship timeline without asking directly. Here's the thing most men don't realize. You don't have to ask her, "So, when was your last relationship?" to figure out her romantic history. In fact, asking outright usually backfires. Why? Because you get the edited, polished version of events, the one she's rehearsed and feels safe sharing. But if you really pay attention, she'll tell you everything without even realizing it. Listen closely to the little details in her stories, the way she phrases things, the words she chooses. When she says something like, "I used to love that little sushi place. We went there all the time." Pause on that "we." That's a breadcrumb from a relationship she may not be ready to name. You'll also start to notice patterns. Does she casually say, "That was 2 years ago," as if she's keeping track? Or does she completely skip over timelines and emotional milestones, pretending they're irrelevant? That silence can speak even louder. It usually means there's still something unresolved there. Even her language about life transitions gives her away when she says things like, "After everything fell apart," or "I had to rebuild myself." You're hearing more than just a breakup. You're hearing recovery. The truth is, people reveal much more when they're relaxed, when they feel like no one's scrutinizing them. And sometimes, the biggest clues about her past are hiding in what she doesn't say, in the gaps between her words, in the moments she glosses over. So don't interrogate her. Be the kind of man who hears what isn't being said. Because when you listen at that level, you learn more about who she really is than any direct question could ever uncover. 10. Observation over interrogation. The smartest men I know, the ones who really understand women, don't sit there firing off question after question like it's an interview. They don't interrogate her about her past, her feelings, her scars. Instead, they watch. They let the answers reveal themselves. You see, anyone can ask, "What happened in your last relationship?" and get the clean, rehearsed version. But the man who's paying attention already knows the answer, because he saw the way she flinched when he canceled plans. He noticed how she shut down when things got a little too intimate, or how she lit up when he complimented something deeper than her looks. These aren't just random behaviors. They're emotional fingerprints, signs she leaves behind without realizing it. Being observant doesn't mean you're cold, calculating, or playing games. It means you're emotionally literate. It means you can read the room, and more importantly, read her. Because here's the truth. The stories people tell out loud are usually the stories they've learned to live with. But the real story, the one they don't even say out loud, that story leaks out in behavior. It's in the pauses, the patterns, the little inconsistencies they don't even notice themselves. And once you learn to observe, you stop falling for the mask. You stop believing the highlight reel. Because a woman will reveal more about herself in what she doesn't say than in anything she tells you directly. The only question left is, are you sharp enough to see it? See who she really is. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of most guys out there, because you're not just listening to what a woman says. You're starting to see who she really is. You're noticing the patterns, the silences, the way her past lives in her present. And that kind of clarity, that's rare. That's power. Because when you pay attention like this, your whole dating life changes. You stop wasting time on the wrong people. You stop falling for the highlight reel, the version of herself she wants you to see, and start connecting with the woman underneath. You also start protecting yourself from getting blindsided by stories you didn't even know you were stepping into. Now, let me leave you with this. You're not here to fix her. You're not here to heal her wounds for her. You're here to see her clearly and decide if you're willing to step into her story. Because awareness is your best defense. If this video gave you even one insight you didn't have before, one moment that made you stop and think, drop a comment below. Tell me what part hit you the hardest. Was it something she said or something she didn't say? I read every single one. And if you're the kind of man who wants to keep learning the deeper game, the psychology, the patterns, the emotional layers most guys never even notice, then hit that subscribe button. This is just the beginning.